Let's bring in my colleague Scott MacFarlane on Capitol Hill and Sophia Cai. Scott is a CBS News congressional correspondent, and Sophia is a reporter for Axios covering Congress and the White House. Thanks to both of you for joining us. Scott, I'm going to start with you. What does this Supreme Court confirmation process tell you about the ones ahead?
It sets up a big variable in the coming months or years. We are asking senators, before today's vote and after today's vote, what becomes of the next nomination if the U.S. Senate goes into Republican hands after the midterm elections? And Republicans have been pretty unambiguous. They may not hold a vote, can't guarantee a vote if there's a future nominee from President Biden. It was the Senate Minority Leader, Mitch McConnell, who told reporters earlier this week he wouldn't predict strategies if Republicans take over and there's a future nominee. And it was Senator Lindsey Graham from South Carolina who said if Republicans controlled the Senate at this moment in time, Judge Jackson wouldn't have gotten the vote. Not that she wouldn't have won the vote, she wouldn't have gotten the vote because the Republicans deemed her to be too liberal. This is setting up a political tinderbox for both parties. Chris Coons, the Democrat from Delaware, says it shouldn't be this way, but it appears to be this way. That if there are opposing parties in the Senate and in the White House, Americans should ready themselves for the prospect of a Supreme Court with 8 or 7 justices, a sort of re-engineered court packing by subtraction.
Well, Scott, turning to some news off the Hill, tell us about New York Attorney General Letitia James' contempt of court filing related to former President Trump.
And Nicole, you'll recall this is a civil case. The Attorney General of New York, Letitia James, has filed against Trump over his finances, including the transparency of his finances. Not to be conflated with the criminal investigation happening in Manhattan, this is a civil case. But Letitia James, in a statement today, says the former president is not following court orders for his records in this case. She says he is trying to evade. And then she said, in so many words, no one is above the law. She wants a judge to have a criminal contempt finding against Donald Trump. Well, we have heard that phrase multiple times in the past 24 hours. Last night on the U.S. House floor, it was House Democrats saying no one is above the law about Trump aides Peter Navarro and Dan Scavino for allegedly stonewalling the House Select January 6th committee. They want contempt of Congress criminal charges filed against those 2 Trump aides. But we've learned something in that process, that a referral and a recommendation for a criminal charge for contempt doesn't guarantee one will be yielded. So the future is uncertain for Dan Scavino and Peter Navarro, just like it is in New York with Tish James's recommendation against Donald Trump.
Sophia, the other big news at the Capitol is Speaker Pelosi, who revealed she has COVID, the latest in a number of cases of people spending time around President Biden this week. What is the White House saying about precautions for the 79-year-old president?
Well, they're going to have to be really careful going forward because President Biden is in the category of people who are high risk. And today we got the news, as you mentioned, that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi tested positive. And over the past couple days and weeks, she has been in close contact. She was around the president, and the White House is telling us that she is not in close contact. But this has obviously got them in high alert because she, as well as dozens and dozens of other lawmakers, have tested positive. And they were at the Gridiron dinner last weekend.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure that Speaker Pelosi was there, but certainly a number of lawmakers were in attendance and a number of cabinet officials. But speaking of COVID, a $10 billion bill in the Senate championed by Leader Chuck Schumer and Mitt Romney, a Republican from Utah, still hasn't materialized. It's pretty much stalled as the virus is on the rise in dozens of states. Press Secretary Jen Psaki talked about the White House's urgency to get something passed this afternoon. Let's take a listen.
Our point here is that there is an urgency to move forward. We can have a range of debates about a range of issues we have disagreements on. That's fine. Immigration, childcare, environmental rules, we welcome that. By the way, the president put forward an immigration bill his first day in office. If Republicans want to work on immigration, come on down to the White House. We're happy to work with you on it. But right now, this is a game of politics, and we need to get this funding. Otherwise, people in the country are going to die.
So, Sophia, we know lawmakers are headed out of town for the Easter recess. So will this get done?
It doesn't look like it, Nicole. It was an expectation last week that they would get this done, and Senator Romney and Leader Schumer actually came to a deal last week and earlier this week to do $10 billion for COVID relief. But the way that things stand, it doesn't seem like they're going to be in a position to pass the bill because Republicans want to add language to bring back Title 42, which is a policy that allows border agents to turn back migrants at the border. And Democratic leaders don't want this in. So they couldn't agree, and it doesn't look like it'll pass. A lot of senators, it looks like, are already on their way out.
And you just mentioned Title 42. Scott, 5 moderate Democrats are now joining forces with 6 Republicans in the Senate for a proposed bill to delay the ending of Title 42. Walk us through what's happening here.
Not just moderate Democrats, but it includes Democrats up for re-election in November in potentially very competitive races like Maggie Hassan of New Hampshire, Mark Kelly in Arizona. Title 42, if it were to be rolled back or to expire in May, these senators want it to continue, saying they don't see a strong enough plan for how to deal with the consequences or after effects of relaxing or ending Title 42. So they've teamed up with Republicans in this distinctive, unique coalition that poses political problems for the White House. These are moderate Democrats the White House needs to help protect politically, and they've convened with other Republicans to give them a political force as they try to combat this Title 42 relaxation. This is a moment for the White House to reflect on the political reality and also to reflect on the fact that they have just 6 weeks to satisfy these Democrats if they're going to end Title 42 as projected May 23rd.
Well, Scott, interest rates are rising along with food and fuel prices. How is the White House and Congress trying to counteract some of these spikes for American consumers?
The top campaigner in the Democratic caucus in the House says there are 2 big G problems: gas and groceries, and it's a political reality the White House has to tend to. We've seen the announcement they're going to tap the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. In Congress, there have been proposals, some provocative proposals, to waive or have a holiday in the federal gas tax. And we've seen some states waive their state gas tax, Maryland included, Virginia considering it. But these are temporary measures, not permanent solutions. And there is a need politically for Democrats, to a degree the Biden administration, to get caught trying to do something on fuel prices. We saw a bit of that yesterday when the House Energy Committee brought big oil CEOs here for questioning. But there is, the oil industry would tell you, no short-term solution, no magic lever to press. If there was one, somebody would have pressed it already.
Well, Sophia, both the Senate and the House voted overwhelmingly today to revoke Russia's most favored nation trade status, with the bill now headed to President Biden's desk for almost certain approval. What does this mean for increased pressure on Russia?
So what this means is that Russia no longer gets preferential treatment in trade relations with the U.S. And what that means is that it will be more expensive for Russia and Belarus to do business with the West. And it's all got to do with trying to drain the Russian economy. It was passed in the Senate unanimously, and I think that underscores the extent to which Congress is united in its resolve to make it harder for Russia to fight the war in Ukraine.
Sophia Cai, Scott MacFarlane, thank you both for joining us.
Thanks.